Welcome back to Sunday Vibes. This episode of Sunday Vibes is brought to you by our friends at Now TV. You can get your Now TV mobile month pass by clicking the link in the description below for just £5.99. And there are some big fixtures coming up this weekend. Fulham versus Manchester United. We better absolutely batter them. But more importantly, on Sunday, Manchester City versus Chelsea. The tie we're all looking forward to. Who cares about Tottenham Leicester?
Well...
Nobody
what
cares
a
about
Sunday that is.
Man City versus Chelsea, though. Yeah, so you can watch that on Now TV by clicking the link in the description below right now. But our first question, let's get on to it, comes from Nigel Joseph, who says, who has been the most underrated player in the Premier League this season until now? Hamill, you kick us off.
Well, as per usual, I've got a few candidates. I'm indecisive. I can't decide. Anyway,
Always.
I'm going to start with Ryan Fraser from Bournemouth. I was having a look at his numbers yesterday because they're put together very quietly, a very tidy front line, haven't they, Eddie Howe at Bournemouth and co. So David Brooks, Ryan Fraser, Callum Wilson, Josh King. That is a front four that I would say is as strong as a collective as sort of Tottenham at this point, to be honest.
What?
I think I'd take
I can't
Josh
believe
King
you've just done this.
and Callum Wilson over Lucas Moura. Obviously a fit Harry Kane blows them all out of the water. Son has been in incredible form, although his numbers are exactly the same as Callum Wilson's at this point, admittedly in 3 less starts. And Brooks and Fraser have been two of the best hybrid wingers come playmakers in the Premier League this season. Do you know that Ryan Fraser is creating 2.4 opportunities per 90 this season, which is only bettered by Eden Hazard, only bettered by, I think, Willian and James Maddison. It's twice as many as David Brooks as well. So as much kudos as we're giving to David Brooks for his recent performances, Ryan Fraser has put together some very, very tidy numbers. A little bit surprised by their lack of sort of dribbles per 90, which I think sit at 0.5 and 0.7 respectively. But that might be because they are more reliant on counter-attacks, aren't they? They're not necessarily building up play around the opposition's box. But I think, yeah, as a unit, they're really strong, aren't they? And Callum Wilson has got, 15 goals and 5 assists, maybe?
Jesus.
In all competitions,
10 goals and 5 assists, so he's contributed to 15, I think, at this point. The actual number has evaded me, but really good output from him. So I think Callum Wilson, to an extent, only taking sort of 2.1 shots, which maybe means that his numbers will sort of plateau, tail off towards the end of the season. It's not a huge amount per 90, is it? But still being very, very incisive at this point. And some other candidates that spring to mind are Gini Wijnaldum. I think if you ask a lot of Liverpool fans, he's been their unsung hero this season.
Definitely.
In a very James Milner-esque, fashion, plugging gaps whenever needed. Fabinho came in, Naby Keita came in, still haven't really been able to replicate Wijnaldum's use, I guess, in Klopp's system.
True.
So they haven't adjusted as well to the system, let's say. I think individually they're probably more talented than Wijnaldum, but he's definitely a key man for Jurgen Klopp at this point, isn't he? And he made 50 appearances for them last season, which was only bettered by, I think, Firmino and Salah. This season as well, 22 of 25 Liverpool's league games he's started all 6 of their Champions League games. His numbers have gone down a little bit, maybe as a result of playing right back every now and then, being that sort of defensive-minded midfielder. But the quality of build-up play that's coming through him has improved. So I think around 0.5 of his build-up play leads to a shot. So he's doing a really sort of good job at progressing it from deep. We know how good he is in the transition. Last season, maybe a little bit ineffective, but this season he's really kind of come into his own, I think. But that's pretty much it for me. I've made an outlandish statement. I feel like I've sort of half justified it. Yeah, get the comments riled. That we need a few more comments, don't we? So, stick them in the comments below what you think to that statement. But moving on to you boys.
Yeah, I'll go.
Just before you jump in, I actually think Heung-min Son's been the player of the year.
Yeah, I mean, 17 starts? I mean, he's missed a fair few games, hasn't he? Which is probably maybe discounts him at this point for me, but he's been absolutely incredible.
At the moment, but they tend to give Player of the Year to the most important player in the title-winning side. Although that didn't happen last year with obviously De Bruyne missing out to Salah, but you tend to have to be in the mix.
But like Aguero has he ever won it?
He's never won it.
He's never won it, and he's often been the most important player of Man City's title-winning campaigns.
That's a good point. I always just think you have to be in the title reckoning come the end of the year.
I think Heung-min Son might well be. Only 2 points off the top spot, aren't they? If they win the weekend.
I'd be surprised if that lasted.
And for me, he's Tottenham's most important player. I think he's usurped Harry Kane as Tottenham's most important player.
Oh, that could be just as big a statement as the one I made.
I think Harry Kane's definitely a better finisher and a more clinical player, but I think Heung-min Son is more important to that Tottenham side. When he's not in it, I think the forward line lacks pace. I don't think it's gelled together as well. I think when he gets taken out, is absolutely detrimental to Tottenham Hotspur.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say I think that Heung-min Son is more important to Tottenham than Harry Kane.
Do you think Son's more important to Tottenham than Christian Eriksen? I know you've just said he's the most important, but let's consider a few other candidates here, because without him in midfield, where's the service to Son?
I do.
It goes Kane, Eriksen, Son.
I really do. I think it goes Son at the top right now. I think historically, I would agree with that statement, but I don't think Eriksen's having his best season for Tottenham Hotspur.
The question is quite topical, which is why I'm saying at the moment.
I think Heung-min Son has proved that he can win games single-handedly, which Eriksen hasn't really done as much this season.
Playing slightly deeper.
He is playing slightly deeper, but that's...
Do you know who produces more chances than Christian Eriksen? Ryan Fraser.
Wow, that is impressive. Don't get me wrong, that is impressive. And Bournemouth have really impressed me. They've not been so good at the back of recent times, but I think Heung-min Son has been so far up to this point the best player in the Premier League this year. I think Hazard's shown glimpses, and I think his only real contender is Mo Salah. And I think Mo Salah's having another fabulous season, but I'm going to put it on Heung-min Son just to be different, really, because I don't want Mo Salah winning it twice in a row. I think Mo Salah probably has been the best player, now I think about it, but
he'll definitely be in the discussion. I think
it's really close between those two. It's a real juggle between those two.
And like I said, I think it is pretty much 15 goal contributions from Son in 17 starts, which is incredible for a winger who's missed various games. But do you know that Eden Hazard, for all that he is maligned, for all that Sarri calls him out after games, I was having a look at some of the top sort of creative performers in the Premier League this morning. 9 man of the match performances out of 21 games.
Really?
9! That's incredible. The next highest is 5. Good, I know they're it's a bit of a throwaway statistic.
Yeah.
But he's been Chelsea's most valuable player in almost 50% of their games.
But then I'm not surprised. He's been Chelsea's most valuable player since he really joined the club.
But we talk about carrying the team and the job that Son's done. I think Hazard's probably done that and then some.
But Chelsea are now 12 points off the pace, whereas Spurs are right there. So I'd give it to Son over Hazard, definitely.
I think it's close between Son and Salah for the Player of the Year. I think there's only real 2 candidates right now that are standing out.
You've made a very good case. I think you might have a point there.
I think Man City are more than the sum of their parts, aren't they? There's no real standout individual. I think we should mention Bernardo Silva. I don't know whether that's
he's the one I'm coming on to. Yeah.
Do you want to talk about him then?
Yeah, definitely. And I'll also put Raheem Sterling in the mix as well as Man City's most crucial player. But I wanted to talk a bit about Bernardo Silva because it's a well-known stat. It's featured in Stat Wars quite a few times that Bernardo Silva actually made the most appearances out of anyone in City's squad last year. But he actually didn't play that many. He didn't actually make that many minutes in the Premier League. It was often off the bench. He was actually 12th for minutes off the bench. And then he only played 6 of City's 10 Champions League games. He got 7 goals and 6 assists in the Premier League and Champions League, which is a really good return in your first year in England. Especially, he's still a really young guy. People forget because he, like me, looks a lot older than he is. But I think he's only 23, 24.
What do we make of this hat, by the way?
I love the hat.
Vote in the poll above. This season I think his form has just gone off like a rocket, and he's been used in various positions and looked equally comfortable. When he first came to City, he was very much a winger. Now he's been pushed more into a midfield 3, which has been crucial with De Bruyne missing so much of the season, with Silva, missing a few games here and there as well. And he's really sort of needled the Man City attack. I mean, he's now got 7 goals and 6 assists to his name already. He's played 450 more minutes than he did in the entirety of last year. Only Sterling and Sane have provided more assists for his side. And his stats just look absolutely remarkable for a midfielder that's sort of asked to do everything. The way he finds space is just incredible. But he's now taking 1.6 shots. He's completing 1.3 dribbles, making 2.1 key passes, and also 2.1 tackles and interceptions. So these are sort of not quite De Bruyne level numbers from last year. I wouldn't go that far. But in De Bruyne's absence, he has been the key difference to Man City maintaining their form, I would argue, in their title push. And I always said that if Man City got De Bruyne back to full fitness and back to full form within a 5-point touch of Liverpool, Man City would, in my opinion, win the league. And I still sort of stand by that.
Although I would say if Manchester City win the league at this point, or if they have any chance of winning the league, it will be a disproportionate amount of credit will have to go to Fernandinho.
Yeah.
I think Fernandinho, for me, probably trumps Silva in City's exploits
But I
this
think
season.
everybody's
But I don't think he's been underrated.
Underrated,
Yeah,
but I think he's probably, we've kind of like traversed off to player of the season as well now, haven't we?
Yeah.
So Fernandinho for me, if
Fernandinho's a
City
great
win
shout.
the league.
Yeah, if City win the league, Fernandinho is a great shout. So I think, he's not a bad name to mention alongside the likes of Salah and Heung-min Son.
It depends if Liverpool win the league. I also think Van Dijk would be in with the shout for Player of the Year. So it really does depend who the title goes to.
This season, it's kind of been like instead of standout performers or people that have been particularly prolific in front of goal, that it's really good system players that are adding extra value to their clubs and that could potentially, be in the hat for Player of the Year. But underrated, I think Bernardo Silva.
And he's just such a good player to have in your squad. I know Pep last year basically said he's my dream sort of player. He never complains. He's the sort of dream pro. He's happy to get minutes when he is. Always gives 100% when he comes on for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. It doesn't matter. He's just the ideal player to have on your bench or right now, making the big differences in games that he's starting as well.
Isn't it? His ability to find space is absolutely unreal.
Yeah. Perpetual motion.
Let's go through some other mentions then. I want to give a shout out. He's definitely not. So before everybody hammers me in the comments, he's definitely not the most underrated. But I think Victor Lindelof has had an incredibly underrated season at Manchester United. Been part of a horrendous backline. I mean, he's got some calamity partners back there. He's not really had settled fullbacks for a lot of the season, although Luke Shaw now has staked a full claim really under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I think he's made 20 starts already in the league this season, Victor Lindelof. I want to mention Victor Lindelof because I think without him, United would be in a horrible state of affairs.
And recovering from what was quite a difficult first year as well.
Yeah, it was an incredibly difficult first year. I think coming from Benfica, he was so far off the pace. And then this season seems to have hit his form. He's definitely added a lot of muscle mass over the summer, and now looks a great centre back. And now United, it looks like don't need to sign 2 centre halves. Before, I think we were all thinking we got to go and get 2 centre backs because Phil Jones, Smalling, Lindelof, and Bailly, none of them are really good enough. Everybody was saying Eric Bailly is by far Man United's best centre back, and now it's Victor Lindelof is a chalk ahead of Eric
this
Bailly.
summer, in terms of centre backs for United, you're looking for a centre back to pair with Lindelof next year.
Yes,
and then Jones, Smalling. What are you doing
I think one of them will go. So
probably
I think
Jones?
I think Rojo will definitely go.
Yeah.
I think probably Phil Jones, maybe Chris. I don't know. It's gonna be one of those two. They won't keep both of them, and then it will be Eric Bailly, Victor Lindelof, a new centre back, and Smalling / Jones will be the 4 centre
Your
halves.
centre halves were just under a massive amount of pressure because the attacking unit weren't performing, or because they were sort of, stunted by Jose's tactics, weren't they? So now you're actually scoring goals, and Lindelof and Co can afford to make it. There's a little bit of breathing space there. Can afford to make mistakes.
We are seeing the best
of him. Yeah, he looked marauding out of defence, isn't it?
Yeah.
What would you actually say is going to be Manchester United's key bit of business over the summer? Is it still that centre half?
Yeah, I mean it's going to be a centre back and a right back, I think. Ashley Young has been given a 1-year contract extension, which is
that's a strange decision.
Not great. I'm not particularly happy about it, but you can see why. They obviously don't want to upset the dressing room while they've still got Solskjaer there. He's obviously a senior pro, probably has a rather large voice in that dressing room, and to not give him one and get rid of him while Solskjaer's there might upset the apple cart whilst we're on a bit of a roll. So they're probably giving him that just in the hope he can stay as a sort of dressing room professional. I think Valencia will be allowed to leave in the summer. You don't need Young and Valencia, and I think they'll probably choose Young and let Valencia go.
Are they choosing like continuity though, because Solskjaer probably won't be the permanent manager?
Probably.
A couple of season pros like holding it together behind
Probably,
the scenes.
but then I think, as I said, Valencia will go, and then they'll either trust in Dalot to come in and over the course of a season progress past Ashley Young, or they'll go out and sign a big name. But I definitely think they'll sign a centre back, a massive centre back, and they'll probably spend close to 100 million on it.
Yeah.
Akin to Liverpool
to partner Victor.
Partner for Victor Lindelof. A few other names we've got to mention then. A few of the Wolves boys.
Yeah, definitely.
Raul Jimenez, João Moutinho, Patricio.
Johnny Otto.
Johnny Otto's a great shout for this position.
Only, 15 mil?
Yeah, and they've got him on a permanent now.
Yeah, that's an incredible bit of business. I'm not quite sure what Atletico Madrid are doing there. So they've brought in the last 2 or 3 seasons, Schalke, Johnny Otto, and they're still playing Juan Fran, who is, 32, 33 now at the very least. And they felt like two able deputies, but I suppose in sort of Simeone's defence, maybe both better going forward than defending. And Venega and Johnny Otto have been pretty much, their average position has been the same as wingers this season, hasn't it? So.
Yeah, Johnny Otto's been extremely high. Him and Matt Doherty have been some of the outstanding fullbacks in the league this year.
Yeah,
they
definitely.
genuinely have, which is a massive compliment, given Matt Doherty and Johnny's first season in the Premier League.
What do you think that fee for Raul Jimenez though? Because I don't think there's an obligation to buy, but there's an option to buy
at 38 mil
after paying $3 million for his loan already.
I'd be very surprised if they didn't go for it. I think he's been exceptional, and with him already knowing the club, it's relatively low risk, and they're so well funded. I mean, he's got 9 goals, 5 assists, he's averaging something like 3.3 shots. His contribution to Wolves has been, great. I think Wolves.
His build-up play is very Giroud-esque, isn't it? His hold-up play, sorry.
Yeah.
Definitely, but I think he's more mobile as well, and he picks up really good positions in the box. He always seems to read it quite well. They're great on the break as well. Jeremy Moutinho as well in midfield has been probably one of the signings of the year. The amount of control he offers alongside there, still actually gets through a fair amount of legwork, despite being into his,
pretty ageless at the moment, isn't it? Yeah.
And I'd also give a shout out to Ricardo Pereira at Leicester. I think he's been excellent. He's played on the right wing, he's played at right back as well.
Left wing.
Yeah, he's played a bit of everywhere. He's got 2 goals, 3 assists. Only Idrissa Gueye is averaging more tackles than him per 90 in the Premier League, averaging over a dribble a game, makes nearly a key pass as well. I think he's been excellent.
Playing in not the best Leicester side we've seen either. It's been a bit hit and miss, isn't it? At
A bit
times?
disjointed at times, yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's a very good starting 11, but his qualities are very obvious. Obviously going forward, and I don't know whether Puel sort of permits that with the style of football he plays.
Yeah. Also, since Hasenhüttl has come in, I think Ward-Prowse has been exceptional.
Finally, we've been waiting for Ward-Prowse to kind of go up a gear.
Technically, I think he's great.
Yeah.
And he's always been great, but
Yeah.
his impact on games hasn't been great up until this point. But I think he's got 3 goals since he came in.
I'd also say Danny Ings in that side as well. 7 goals, 1 assist in 17 starts, 8 goal contributions for a team that up until Hasenhüttl came couldn't buy a goal really.
Yeah.
And I think he was in the top 5 or maybe 10 strikers as well for shots per 90. At some point throughout this season, he was averaging 3.6. So still managing to carve shots out by himself. And we've seen how difficult that is at Southampton with the likes of Gabbiadini failing, with Shane Long failing. So he's done really well.
Yeah.
There's another name I want to mention as well, or another couple. I think Lucas Digne has been surprisingly good since his signing. We've obviously talked about on this show before, but I think we all thought that was a bit of a move when he came from Barcelona. Hadn't really worked there, hadn't really worked at Roma, hadn't really worked at PSG, but seems to have settled better in Merseyside than he has anywhere throughout his career, and started really well. And also Kepa in goal for Chelsea. I think the best compliment you can give Kepa is that nobody's talking about the fact they paid 75 mil for him.
Very true.
So he is still the most expensive goalkeeper of all time, and nobody's mentioned it once.
I think you just said the big man as well, Idrissa Gueye. His defensive performances over the last 2 or 3 seasons, genuinely think Everton would have fallen apart without him as well. Particularly because Marco Silva's Everton aren't exactly defensively sound, are they? And he's still putting 5.5 tackles and interceptions together. And when a team like PSG comes in, I think they were hoping that he would do the same job sort of Lastana Diarra did when he came in for them 2 or 3 years ago. You're kind of thinking he must be better than this level then, even at 28, 29 or whatever he is now. I think if you swapped him out, if you put him in any top side, he still would perform very admirably.
Yeah, I think Everton are in real trouble actually. I think they've lost 4 of their last 5, and Marco Silva is making a habit of getting off to such flying starts. He did it at Hull and Watford as well, and then the form just goes off a cliff.
I know.
So
Everton fans are absolutely stinky.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. And staying on Merseyside on a completely separate note, actually, I think Sadio Mane has to get a shout out for sort of underrated. In that front line, he gets no credit. I think he's got 11 goals, 1 assist. And I don't actually think that Firmino has had his best year. I know he had that exceptional game against Arsenal where he scored that beautiful hat-trick. But other than that, I can't really remember any standout Firmino performances compared to last year. And Mane's really stepped up to the plate.
He's been asked to do a slightly different job this year, though. He's dropped a lot deeper. He's kind of
true.
playing
He's more
behind
of a
2
number
split
10.
strikers, isn't he? Than he is now.
They're actually pressing an awful lot less than they were last season, which maybe Jurgen Klopp was thinking, I need to do in order to get the best out of these guys over the course of a season. So you do see Firmino, instead of them hunting in 2s or 3s, like Klopp's Dortmund, for example, they are I feel like their press has been a little bit more pepping in that it's cutting off passing lanes, it's covering the half spaces, and Firmino's kind of been doing that and dropping a lot deeper, like you said, as a result. But who do you think is, I mean, in the top clubs, if you took them out that side, that their title bid would fall apart. So
obviously Fernandinho is the obvious candidate.
So we spoke about him on the previous weeks, didn't we?
Yeah, Fernandinho, Van Dijk are the obvious ones there, and I 100% think Heung-min Son. I think if you take Heung-min Son out of the Tottenham attack, I think they lose all their pace. I think they lose their shape. I don't think Harry Kane is mobile enough, maybe because of his injuries, to cover the space that Heung-min Son does on the press and in the transition.
Harry Kane, Shottenham still haven't really recovered from that injury. It's not really the same Harry Kane as last season. But
yeah, I do know what you mean. And I think at Chelsea, judging by Maurizio Sarri's tactical system, if you take Jorginho out, I don't see how it works. And I think that is the massive flaw with Chelsea, is that it's too much of an obvious system to shut down.
So you don't agree with some Chelsea fans that they should be maybe trying Kovacic at the base of midfield?
I think they should definitely get
and having Barkley and Kante.
I 100% think they should be doing that. I think they should be doing that, but I think if you're going to play Sarri's system, which he 100% is and he's not going to change, then you need to keep Jorginho in there. Because Chelsea have attempted to do a Man City and hire Guardiola when Man City laid 7 years of foundations before Guardiola arrived to get him settled. They had his directors of football, they had players signed from in advance. With Chelsea, they've gone, right, we're putting Sarri in and we're going to play his system, and here's Jorginho. And now there's no adaptability because every Premier League team goes, oh, hang on, they're playing the same system. Somebody marks Jorginho, and then it's game over.
I think game over is a bit harsh, but yeah, it does definitely, it does
against the top sides, that shuts the whole system down.
Well, I think that's why this weekend is so fascinating, because they played really well against Man City in the game at Stamford Bridge. So I'm intrigued to see whether they can go to the Etihad and match that performance.
The second half in that game was like prime Sarri ball. I'm guessing that's the level he wants to reach in every game against the top sides.
They'll also hopefully have a bit more space as well.
And then United's probably Paul Pogba. Yeah, obviously David De Gea, but Paul Pogba.
Also think Higuain, I know he's only just started, but you take Higuain out of that Chelsea side and they suddenly look, pretty flat going forward. I don't think Giroud he's never been a fantastic goal scorer. I think he's a good player and a good hold-up player, but the cutting edge in that Chelsea side without Higuain, and he's only 2 games into his career, it's quite worrying.
Yeah, I mean, it's just any kind of capable number 9 also limits what Hazard can do as well. That's why the kind of two are so intrinsically linked, aren't they? So what are we saying? The Ryan Fraser,
Heung-min
Son, and
I said Bernardo.
And Bernardo Silva are most underrated players. And then our players of the year are Fernandinho, Van Dijk.
Mo Salah / Heung-min Son is one of those.
Mo Salah.
I'd put Laporte just below that level as well. I think he's been exceptional.
He was first 10 games absolutely awesome. For the best defender in the top 5 European leagues. But I'm sticking by it. At the moment, Bournemouth's attack much more coherent than Tottenham's.
Juicy.
Before we move on to our next question then, the Sunday Vibes Extra Time podcast is back this week, baby. And we are discussing Wonderkids who went off the radar. So stay tuned for that. Here's a little sample.
He was being paid €80,000 a week.
80?
That is
in the reserve.
Absolutely stinking. Like, Man United pay some bad wages, but 80k a week for, what is he then, 15 when they signed him, 16.
That beggars belief, doesn't it? Crazy.
I mean,
his dad did a bit on that deal.
We come back in with our second question of the day. It was sent in by Rachel7000, and she says, is Pep right to consider Man United title challengers? And if so, should they give the job to Solskjaer permanently? If you haven't seen the clip already, here it is.
I never said Tottenham was not there, ni Chelsea. I never put out all 5 or 6 games, and United is making this run of victories every single week. We'll be there to fight for the Premier League.
So lads, what are your thoughts on those quotes?
Well, I think he's just sort of trying to take the pressure off a little bit, trying to change the narrative a bit from this City versus Liverpool 2-horse race, which is just the amount of scrutiny on them at the moment as this, these two juggernauts, the amount of pressure on them at the moment is really reaching boiling point. So I think he's just trying to temper that down a bit, say it's not just about us, Spurs are in the race. I don't really know what he's saying why Chelsea and Man United are in the race, especially now that I think they're 12 and 14 points off top spot. So they're not going to win the title. But yeah, I think he's just paying United a compliment for their successful run. I think he's saying Chelsea shouldn't be ruled out entirely. But yeah, Man United under Solskjaer, we've got to touch on it. They've been absolutely fantastic. I mean, Mourinho won 7 of his opening 17 league games. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's already topped that. Drawing just that one game against Burnley, and although their form hasn't been quite as good in the last couple of games, they struggled against Leicester in patches. Obviously, struggled in that game.
Really
against
hard
Burnley.
place to go though. Leicester have picked up some great results against some of the top teams. They're almost perfectly set up to a top team because they play so well on the counter attack. Jamie Vardy, I think, has scored more goals against the top 6 than any other player since he's arrived in the Premier League. I think he's got 28. They're the perfect anti-top 6 side. So United winning 1-0 is no shame there.
But it also should be noted that before Solskjaer took over, Man United were 19 points off Liverpool. They were closer to relegation than top spot. And now they've gone on this great run, and he's improved it at both ends of the pitch as well. They were averaging 1.6 goals per game under Mourinho and 1.6 goals conceded, whereas that's gone up to 2.6 goals per game under Solskjaer and 0.75 conceded. So it's not just the attacking players that have had a new lease of life. He's also offered seemingly more organisation. He's got the defensive players playing in a better system, which you never think you'd say when you get rid of Mourinho that you improve defensively.
He's also sold Fellaini.
I mean, I think you would believe it. Like, we've been saying for 18 months that Jose Mourinho, for the first time in his career, has failed to coach a decent defence at Manchester United. I mean, David De Gea last season outperforming expected goals by 14 and having one of the all-time great seasons in the Premier League would suggest that the defence were the season before as well. And I think anyone that failed to recognise that and kind of and that was still, waxing lyrical or being nostalgic about Jose Mourinho's Chelsea defence of 2006 was sort of deluding themselves. So I'm actually not surprised. Not to say that I think Paul Ince could have done the job, or Brucey, or anyone of that calibre. But I'm not surprised that it's performed, improved markedly on both ends. And Paul Pogba's been at the heart of that, hasn't he?
Yeah.
What has he got? 20 goal involvements already this season, so 17 for the entirety of last season, been involved in 55% of the goals since Solskjaer came in. Like, he, I mean, it feels, very kind of simple and a bit deterministic to say that a World Cup winner, I mean, when you get the most expensive player at your club performing, that everything starts to tick around him. And Jose Mourinho was trying to build a team without the epicentre, wasn't he? And it is no surprise that players like Rashford are experiencing purple patches now. He's being allowed to thread over 2 key passes a game. Anthony Martial or whoever's playing as these sort of wide forwards are experiencing a lot of joy with his service.
I think he's made some brave decisions though. Solskjaer's made some brave decisions since he's come in. I don't think many managers would have come in to a club legend or not, and gone, okay, I'm dropping our £75 million striker to second place in the pecking order behind Rashford.
Lukaku, you're putting him out of his misery at that point. Well, he
Maybe
needed like a rest. Yeah.
But a lot of managers would have come in and gone,
I think you're right.
We've stuck a lot of money on him. He needs to perform, otherwise I'm going to get the scrutiny. And I think Rashford's performances under Solskjaer have been absolutely genius. I think he's won us 18 points. His goals have contributed to 18 points to Man United this season, which is crazy amounts. And then the likes of Martial now he's so far ahead of Alexis Sanchez in the pecking order, it's crazy. And when you think about where he was under Mourinho, it's a complete turnaround. This guy's signed a 6-year contract when Mourinho tried to swap him for Willian in the summer.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Mourinho's team selection, it was people were being included it was like almost measured. The barometer was by how much they bought into his system or by how much they just listened to him from player to manager. So Lukaku was starting relentlessly, wasn't he? Because at the start of the season, he was, putting in good defensive forward performances. He wasn't bad-mouthing Mourinho. Clearly, was on his manager's side. Yeah. Whereas Paul Pogba was sort of the absolute polar opposite of that, wasn't it? And Solskjaer's now picking on merit. It's more of a meritocracy.
Yeah, definitely. Lukaku will be back though. He's too good of a player not to come back. He won't be sold this summer, in my opinion. He'll be absolutely fine. These people thinking he's dead. He's now turned into a meme. Absolute rubbish. He's far too good a player. But yeah, going back to Pogba briefly. I mean, his form has just been remarkable since the winter break in Europe. No one in Europe has been involved in more goals than his 11. I think Mbappe and Son are next on something like 9. Zapata and Quagliarella are in there as well. But Pogba's form has just been remarkable, and you've also got to give him a lot of credit. I mean, he's been gone through a lot in his personal life off the field in the last year or so as well. I know his dad passed away last year. That sort of went under the radar, and then he was being effectively bullied by his manager. So to respond in this fashion has just been remarkable and shows what sort of strength of character he has, as well as how, what talented player he is.
Yeah, I think also even some of Jose's most admiring servants within the club, i.e. Nemanja Matic, who I believe was the only player that stuck up for him in the dressing room at the very end, was still backing him. He is experiencing a new lease of life under Mourinho as well. Looks totally reinvigorated. He looks fitter. He looks sharper on the ball. And Herrera looks a totally different player. And Herrera looks like the player we signed when we first got hold of him.
Back-to-back player of the year for him.
And that's great to see. But for me, going back to the question quickly, Man United are definitely not title contenders. Miles away from that still. We don't have the defence to win a title. We're still short in the midfield to win a title. I don't think Fred's had anywhere near the impact he should have had at £50 million, and we're expecting him to have. I don't know who made that decision to sign Fred, but it's not worked out either way. So I think next season, if Man United sign smartly in defence and midfield, we've definitely got the second best attack, in my opinion, in the league, depth-wise.
After Bournemouth.
Depth-wise.
after Man City. In terms of depth, in terms of starting quality, I think Liverpool's is probably the best or the second best. But in terms of depth, you look at that, Rashford, Lukaku, Martial, Alexi, Mata, Lingard. I think depth-wise, we're up there. Defensively, it's a shit show. So we need to sort that out. But I still don't think it should be Ollie's on a permanent. I still think if Pochettino's available, you've got to get Pochettino.
What if he's not available though, Joe?
If he's not available,
what if he's not?
If he's not available, then it's going to be Solskjaer.
Really?
But more importantly than getting
a one-year rolling contract,
as I've said for the last 6 months, more importantly than getting Solskjaer, even more importantly than getting Poch, is to get the right director of football.
Yeah.
Has to happen. It's so imperative. And if that director of football comes in, and goes, we're going to keep Solskjaer, then we've got to back it. We've got to make, that's the decision we're going to make, because clearly we can't get Poch. If we could get Poch, we'd be getting Poch. Whether or not that means he's going to stay at Tottenham or go to Madrid, I don't know. But if we can get Poch, we should get Poch. But most importantly,
so in your mind, it goes Pochettino, then Solskjaer. You don't want Allegri, Zidane.
I don't mind who comes out. For me, it's such a big drop from Pochettino to any other candidate that it's
Even
kind of
Allegri?
like that we're shooting for whatever at that stage. As long as the director of football is making the decision that it fits his vision, I'm happy to go with it. But Poch should be the outstanding candidate.
I've made my thoughts on that quite clear. He's off to Madrid anyway. But
yeah, you still believe he's off to Madrid. I still think Jose Mourinho is going to go back to Madrid in the summer.
Fair.
But equally, do you guys at home think Manchester United should be considered for a title challenge? Because Rachel does, and I don't know what you're thinking, Rach. It's a nightmare. Moving into quick fire questions now. The first one was sent in by Sam, West Ham United 13. Says, what are your thoughts on Declan Rice? Should he be in contention for Young Player of the Year?
Young Player of the Year? Maybe. I've liked the look of him. West Ham a lot better with a midfield 3 as opposed to a 2. Diop, I think, has been just as influential in that West Ham setup as Declan Rice. Martin Noble has needed the legs around him, needed a little bit of protection, and he's tidy. He's very comfortable in possession.
He was unreal against Liverpool.
And yeah, I mean, and he's kind of got that innate quality of dictating the tempo a little bit. So I like him, but I'd be lying if I said I watched him enough to weigh him up against other youngsters and say he's a definite leader.
Especially when Leroy Sané's having a fantastic season.
Yeah, I mean, he still qualifies for it, doesn't it? I think Sterling, Rashford as well.
Harry Kane will somehow qualify for it as well.
No, he can't. Can he actually?
No,
that's outrageous. Surely not. There was a time when he was qualifying every year, though.
Our mate Brooksy will be in the reckoning as well. So, yeah.
Not the worst shout.
I don't think Declan Rice will win Young Player of the Year, but I think he's been exceptional. And for a centre-back playing out of position, even better. So it'll be interesting to see where his future lies in terms of whether he plays in midfield or defence. But
Probably
I think
not
it's
West
got to
Ham,
be
that's where his
midfield.
future
Yeah,
lies.
probably
not at West Ham.
Although, yeah, they did tie him down to a long contract, which is well done from them. So we'll see.
Wes Livington says, does the arrival of Frankie de Jong mean that Rakitic's time at Barcelona is up?
Yeah, I would probably say yeah. Particularly if Rabiot joins this summer, I think Rakitic is the one that you lose. Definitely not Busquets. I think it's too early, but. I mean, he's still been great for Barcelona. I think he's played over 50 games in all the years he's been there. He's won something like 12 trophies. He's already made something like 30 appearances this year for Barca, so he's still very much part of a good system. He's a very useful player to have because he can do a bit of everything. He's not exceptional creator, he's not an exceptional goal scorer, but he knits play well together. I think he's great. If he was to leave, to answer the second part of that question, I know Inter Milan have been looking at him, and that'd be a nice bumper contract,
Massive
winding down.
upgrade on João Mario, yeah.
Yeah,
I think if I was Barcelona, I'd cash in now.
Really, I actually think, disagree slightly in that I think because he's so good at everything, that does make him exceptional. And I think history is going to be very kind to Rakitic, much kinder than the Barcelona fans have been to him. Because in Valverde's system, he's played right wing, I think there was
But if you could get your money back now
There was
from
a
Inter
point-
Milan, would you not get it back?
I mean, from a business perspective, and you've got to be a little bit colder business-wise, yeah, if they're prepared to offer 30, 40 million for Rakitic, I think they'd actually make money on him at that point.
Yeah.
In terms of what they picked him up from Sevilla from. But he's been, I think last season, one of the most surprising stats I could find was that he produced the most crosses for Barcelona into the box. And I think that a lot of the time he was deployed on the right wing, like I said, in Valverde's sort of 4-4-2, but he's just been brilliant everywhere he's played, and I think it's been, the fans have been quite cruel to him in the last 2 years in their willingness to dispose of him. But Frankie de Jong, he's kind of joining that, the Dele Alli sort of company, that sort of dynamic, in that he can kind of just do everything. We've spoken about him quite extensively on the show, haven't we? That he doesn't really give up on the attacking or the defensive end. Like his ability to step out of the line is incredible. Like he's got a little jolt, that acceleration's brilliant. He can just burn through men at close quarters, and he looks like a proper Barcelona player. So I can see why they've sort of doubled down on him, and Rabiot's the next sort of 10 years in their midfield. But yeah, Rakitic might be a victim of that, but I think he can go with his head held high, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Right, final quickfire question before we move on to personal questions. What are your predictions for the Champions League round of 16? It's coming this Wednesday, isn't it?
Yeah,
Go on, you
some
boys
big
start.
games.
Tuesday.
Shall I get the fixtures up on my phone and I'll rattle them off?
Yeah, go for it.
Well, let's start with the first one, then Manchester United versus PSG.
I think Man United have a really good chance in this. I genuinely do. I think PSG have shown a little bit of weakness in the last couple of games. I know they lost that game against Lyon. I didn't think they played particularly well in that. They're obviously missing Neymar. I don't think Verratti's fully fit. That Man United front line can cause anyone damage. I don't think they'll see a lot of the ball, but if they play on the counter-attack similar to they did against Spurs, then I think they could cause them a lot of damage. But I also do worry about Mbappe up against any of that Man United backline. And Cavani as well, you expect Di Maria to play in his sort of homecoming game, even though it's barely a homecoming. But
Phil Jones is going to ether Mbappe. He's going to eat him.
Yeah, he probably will. Just fall over, trip, accidentally eat him.
Yeah.
Straight on top of him. Next one, Tottenham versus Dortmund.
I think this could be one of the rounds of the tie. I mean, I think if
Tie of the
Tottenham
round.
Tie of the round.
rounds of the tie of the rounds even. Guinness is done, mate. I think if Tottenham had a fully fit starting 11, then they'd probably edge it. As we saw last season, they kind of were a little bit stronger in the group stages over the course of 2 legs, weren't they? But times have changed, man. And Dortmund are looking fluid. They've got probably a much stronger bench than Tottenham at this point as well. So yeah, I'm gonna say Lucien Favre's men over the course of 2 legs. Maybe Tottenham at Wembley.
Spurs had a few struggles as well in the Champions League this year as well. I mean, they only got through in the skin of their teeth.
They always shit the bed for 10 minutes in the middle as well. Yeah. And I think that will come back to bite them. Ajax versus Madrid.
This is one of the games I'm most excited for. I do think Ajax could cause them some damage. I really do. Even though I haven't caught the highlights of the Copa del Rey match against Barcelona last weekend, but Real Madrid played pretty well in the weekend. I think they won 3-0. Who they were playing escapes me. But Vinicius has looked really good in the last few games. He now looks like a real danger. Bale scored some good goals in his comeback. So I just think this will be a great game and one I'm really excited for. If I had to say who I think would win it, I'm going to go for it. I think Ajax could do it.
I just think Madrid always end up turning up as soon as they get out of the group.
I just want them out.
Yeah, my gut instinct says, I mean, my heart wants Ajax to go through, gut instinct says Real Madrid, but I mean, after seeing, so Ajax made a great start to the season, didn't they? I think, is it them along with either Feyenoord or PSV, it just escapes the moment, I think it's PSV, yeah, who sort of went 10, 11 games unbeaten, so they're sort of top of the Eredivisie, and they appeared to be they're sort of the peak of their powers. They got back to sort of where they were 2 or 3 years ago. when they got to the Europa League final. But yeah, their defensive vulnerability is exposed really by Feyenoord. Although they've got some, Hakim Ziyech is in fantastic form, Dusan Tadic as well, De Ligt, De Jong. So they've got the personnel to do Real Madrid damage. But yeah, after seeing the Eredivisie of late, I think Real Madrid probably edge it.
Yeah, so do I. Lyon versus Barcelona. For me, this is a Barcelona win.
Yeah, definitely.
Barcelona are in decent form at the moment as well. Although Lyon did pick up a big win against PSG.
Man City. PSG in the league.
They've looked pretty dangerous in Europe, but I still think Barcelona got enough to see them off fair.
It's difficult to see it.
Liverpool versus Bayern. Another fantastic.
There's so many good ties.
I think we've got to do an armchair fans next week.
Yeah, that's absolutely mouth-watering. Liverpool versus Bayern.
That's going to be
Yeah,
awesome.
Jurgen Klopp will be doing backflips.
I think Liverpool could nick
sideline.
something there. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, his Dortmund side's always had a great record against Bayern.
And they're there to be got at by Munich this season with some pace.
As demonstrated by Leverkusen, they really struggled with some pacey, sort of tricky wide men against Leverkusen, didn't they? But I feel like Liverpool might win this one quite convincingly.
Do you think?
Atletico Juve.
Juventus
I think
for me.
this could be boring. Atletico Juve. This could be draw central.
I don't think Atleti have picked up a little bit in recent weeks. Juventus just keep on marching on. Actually, Juventus have conceded quite a few goals recently. I saw they lost 3-0 in the Cup.
And
then they drew 3-all against
but that was,
Parma as well.
Gervinho's genius.
Yeah, but
Gervinho
Cristiano's going to turn up against Atleti. You just know it.
He's I think the only player to have as many goals as him by match week 22 for Juventus at this point in modern history is David Trezeguet. Like at 34, I think he turned 34 this week at some point. He's still performing unbelievably well. Had 10 shots against Parma, 10 at the weekend.
That is mental.
2 goals, 1 assist. But he's probably going to rip them by.
Juve also have a few injury issues at the moment as well. I think Chiellini and Bellucci have missed the last couple of games,
5
and they
games
looked
combined,
they looked a bit sketchy at the back against Parma.
Caceres that's come back.
Caceres and Regani looked a bit dodgy, and then Spinoza.
And they let Benatia go.
And then let Benatia go.
Beren in goal. But what was I about to say? Oh no, Juventus. No, can't move on.
Final game of the round then, Schalke versus Man City. Let's keep this very quick. It's going to be Man City walkover, isn't it? Battering. Sorry,
so.
Kieran, but it just is.
The Kieran Derby,
Yeah, but he's also loves Schalke, doesn't he? He absolutely loves Schalke. So, he's losing both ways, isn't he?
Yeah.
All right, so personal questions then. Let's just get 1 or 2 of these. What career ideas did you have for the future when you were in school or before then? That comes from King Thierry 40.
One of you guys take it, I think.
I wanted to be an adventurer to start with.
Oh, yeah?
When I was at very young
Full-time adventurer. Bear Grylls.
Yeah, but then I just
Dora
realised,
the Explorer.
I don't think you can get paid from that.
You were quite outdoorsy though, weren't you, as a child?
Yeah, well, I just used to like making bows and arrows and stuff and like going in the woods with knives and things.
I thought, you know when you used to play Cowboys versus Indians, I'd have you down as a cowboy every single time.
I used to go to like summer camps in the woods and like make fires and like carve things and learn how to hunt animals and stuff like that. I used to want to be an adventurer, but then I realised I don't even get paid for nothing.
A full-time adventurer. I've always actually when I was a wee nipper, wanted to be a pilot. And then my eyes started to fail me at 15 years old.
So you started squinting?
Yeah, I was like, I would definitely, fly clean into the side of that mountain. And then, always kind of wanted to be a film director, slash writer, from 16 onwards. Sort of, Martin Scorsese always been a personal hero of mine.
Dukes?
When I was very young, I wanted to be a zookeeper up until the age of about 8. I was really big into my animals.
What animals in particular?
I was obsessed with, do you know in the Jungle Book when the elephants do that march? My mum, when I was a toddler, used to just, whenever she went out with the twins, she'd leave me in there watching the elephant march on repeat all day, every day. And I was just big into elephants when I was growing up.
It's like Chinese torture.
I know.
What's your favourite film growing up?
Film growing up, I don't know, maybe Indiana Jones and the Lost in the Temple.
What would your parent whack on?
I don't know, one of the Indiana Jones, torn between
No, they'd whack
Temple
on the
of
dance
Ark
music
and-
for Joe, get him.
Yeah, it was, isn't it? Faithless.
Do you remember Baby's Day Out? Do either of you watch that? I used to watch that.
James Bond probably for me, actually.
James Bond, that's when you were
As
a
you're growing
child.
up, that explains a lot.
Sean Connery.
100%, I used to have a little suit, I
sexist.
used to dress up and have a gun. No, it's Pierce Brosnan growing up for me.
Pierce Brosnan.
Pierce Brosnan was great.
Anyway, next one. Final one says, from Kaushik Pawar, let's keep this one short. Mashed potatoes every day for one meal or double salt in everything you eat?
I love salt. I double salt every day. every day, fine. Love salt. Although
Mashed potatoes every day with double salt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
mashed potatoes, or you have to put
you have
double
to eat
the amount
mashed
of salt.
potato every day, or do you have to put double salt on everything you eat?
So, chocolate bars.
Double salt.
Chocolate bars.
Yeah.
Although
like
mash can be pretty
cereal.
nice.
Yeah, double salt.
I think I'd go mash and I'd just have it
Every
early doors.
day.
I'm making fantastic mash. Like 3-4 things of butter, loads of
You
salt.
should come out like Play-Doh for a mash every day. Just be like,
Straight on my ass. Anyway, if you've got any questions for next week, put them in the comments below with the hashtag Sunday
Now
Vibe.
TV are
Or
gonna
come
love
and
that.
follow us on Twitter because we do put a tweet out every single week. Do we have a live stream this weekend? Football Social. It's
for
already been
Football Social,
done.
yes, we do on Saturday.
Saturday, so it's already been and gone.
So it's already been and gone. Yeah, go
Sorry,
and watch it
go
on
watch that,
go and
yeah.
watch it on AVOD. Hey.
But equally, there are other things happening, isn't there? What else is happening?
Yeah, download the podcast, obviously, that we were talking about earlier. Go watch all the Stat Wars, the league. Just go over to FDFC and subscribe to that channel. Go over to Eurofootball Daily and subscribe to that channel. There's loads of great stuff across all our channels at the moment.
Yes.
If I say channel one more time, it's over.
Well said.
Yes, but there are also some big games today. It is Manchester City versus Chelsea. If you want to stream that game, click the link in the description below and get your Sky Sports mobile month pass from our friends at Now TV for just £5.99. Thank you very much for watching. Auf Wiedersehen.